Internet. Welcome to the Collective Arcana, a channel all about tabletop gaming. I'm Sarah, and this is Wyatt.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about the Revised Action Economy in Pathfinder.
Also known as the Unchained Action Economy for the book that it's based, that it's out of.
Okay. So what is that exactly?
To explain the Revised Action Economy, we have to talk about the Normal Action Economy. The Normal Action Economy has existed in all iteratives of 3.0, and I do include up to 4.0 and 5.0 when I say iteratives. And what it is, functionally, is the way that a player can break up their turns during gameplay. Specifically combat, you don't often worry about action economy in storytelling scenes. So the way that it works for the standard action economy is that a player has a standard action, a move action, and then a little third, little nothing action, sometimes called a swift action, or maybe a minor action or a free action, depending on which version of what you're playing. And everything falls into one of those categories, except sometimes they don't. And that's sort of why the Unchained Action Economy came about, was to both simplify that system and better categorize it and make it a little more understandable for especially newer players or players who just didn't want to have to worry about scouring through everything and finding all the exceptions and the ifs, ands, or buts of the standard action economy.
So how many actions is it to just move, just normal, one action?
Yes, so a move action in the standard economy becomes just a single simple action, a move action in the revised.
And then a regular attack is
A regular
one.
attack is a simple action as well, yes.
But then casting a spell is two actions.
That's correct. In the revised action economy, casting, primarily just to keep casters from casting several spells around, spell casting, and that includes spell-like abilities and things like that, have been relegated to being a complex or two action.
Okay, so how do potions work?
So potions in the standard action economy are a standard action, which means if you drink a potion, if you spend your turn drinking a potion, the only other thing you can do is move. In the revised action economy, drinking a potion is still considered two actions. However, because of the way that other actions are pointed out, you could still drink a potion and also attack in the same round. And many DMs, and we'll get into this as we continue the homebrew aspects of the channel, will say that drinking a potion, especially in the revised action economy, might just be one single action.
Maybe because you can drink while you move?
That is something, certainly, yes.
Okay, so what about scrolls?
So scrolls are functionally the same for all intents and purposes. It's a spell activation item. So it is still, you are casting a spell, you're just not doing it from your own power, you're doing it from an outside source. So
it's two.
It is two actions, that's correct.
So you could use a scroll or cast a spell and take a potion.
Again, technically no in the revised action economy, because all of those are two actions. So, and you only get three. But again, most DMs would probably say, I always have in the revised action economy, so the drinking a potion is just one of your three actions. Because in my mind, landing a coordinated, successful attack on an enemy should not be significantly easier than drinking a potion.
Yeah, so I guess it's just up to the DM at that point then.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll, like I said, as we get into the other videos about home brewing and getting the most out of your action economy, whatever that action economy ends up being, whatever the system or choices you make, and finding the best way to make sure that your players have meaningful actions and worthwhile options besides just doing what is black and white, the right thing, best thing to do.
Okay, so what are the pros and cons of this versus the standard economy?
Well, so the standard economy can be a bit stifling, really. As we've already illustrated with the fact that before, if you drank a potion, all you could do was move and then maybe do one of your little minor or swift or whatever they were actions. In the revised action economy, you can still drink the potion and you still only have one action left, but what that one action is now a little bit wider. It could be a melee or ranged attack with a weapon. It could still be the move that it always was. It could still be an actual 5-foot step. It could be drawing weapons, things like that. Some of those it could already be, but just we've already got more options. The other benefit is at low level, as a martial class, let's say you're playing a fighter and you want to be able to get to a target without having to charge, because charge is only in a straight line, and maybe maybe you need to make a right turn somewhere in there, God forbid. So now you can move and then get your attack off. You could also, if you're getting a little more strategic, you could move to a foe, attack them. If they drop, then you could move to the next target so that you could take a full round of attacks on your next turn. Additionally, if you are a ranged attacker and you have a great cover position, you can pop out of that cover, take an attack or two if you have many shot or multi-shot type things, and then move back and still have some movement. So it almost negates the need for some feats like shot on the run and things like that. And really, anytime you can eliminate feats in Pathfinder, those feat taxes, and help people get to a viable, fun build doing what they want to do as early as possible, is all the better. Finally, another benefit that it has, especially for low-level melee combatants and really any kind of physical non-caster combatant, is even before you get access to iterative attacks, so you don't have to be level 6 or level 11 to get multiple attacks, you can actually, as long as you're willing to take that -5 penalty, you can keep swinging. You probably won't hit, but it is an option. And that's really what it's all about. The Revised Action Economy is more options.
So would you say this is more for beginners or more advanced players?
I think it can be great for both. I think that having everything sort of simplified, streamlined somewhat, I mean, it's still a big lot of rules like any tabletop RPG. But streamlining it and simplifying it and telling a new player, you have 3 acts and you can spend them however you want. Some things might cost more than one, but putting into a point system for them can really help people get a grasp on it a lot better than trying to remember all these arcane terms like move, minor, standard, swift, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in when you're new.
Yes, there is. And the other thing is, for higher level players, it can really change the entire feel of the game. People who've been playing for a long time finding that because certain actions have changed how they interact with each other, now things that you might not have tried to build before, you might give a shot now. And a class that you've been playing for years, like a barbarian, all of a sudden at low level can feel a lot more brutal than it already did. And then, admittedly, it sort of drops off. There are some troubles with the Revised Action Economy at higher levels, but it does a lot to sort of normalize the power scaling between the marshals and the casters. The hybrids do get a bit of an edge. But again, we'll get into a little bit of how to balance that in some of our later videos, I hope.
Yeah. So are there any classes that would do better with this? Will some of your players say, oh, well, this isn't fair for my character versus that character?
Well, I think anytime you are introducing anything that is outside of the core rules, you should discuss with your players. You should explain why, and then you should explain to them what the pros and cons are. And you should also have an open mind, of course. If somebody is just flat out saying, oh, I don't enjoy this, even if everybody else thinks it's a pretty fun idea, you at the end of the day, you want everybody to be enjoying themselves. If everybody's happy enough with the standard, then you should stick with it. With that said, I think that there are certain classes that definitely have an advantage in the system. Swashbucklers can really game this system with the way that it treats their immediate actions just become reactions, and then when you combine that with combat reflexes, oh boy, that can be fun. So it's something that, on the whole, you will need to go in and fine-tune. And the good news is that you will rarely have all 40 character classes represented at the table at any given time. So you can really piecemeal it out, and you can take issues as they come, rather than try to have big blanket answers for everything. And you can see what works, you can feel it out, and just let everybody know, hey, we're trying something here. Like with all home brews, there might be a little adjustment after we get in a little bit.
So is there anything else that you had to add about how this all works?
I think really the main thing to remember is that this is not a plug-and-play option replacement to the standard action economy. There is some finer details to sort of go through, but I think that if you're going to implement any system, I think you should. I think that it's a great exercise both as a DM and just players in general, to try new variations and try new things to keep the game fresh. And it can be a lot of fun trying to figure out the best way to work something in to keep this player happy and that player happy. And at the end of the day, anything that's giving more variety to a gameplay session is a big win, I think.
We introduced it pretty early on in our game a year ago, and we had a lot of new players, and I felt like it kind of cleared up a lot of confusion for the new people.
Yes, we had both a magus and a swashbuckler in the party, as well as a character that used nothing but natural attacks. So quite a lot of those nitty-gritty questions had to be asked and answered.
Especially
yes. And but really, I think that for the most part, it really, like you said, it simplified everything and got everybody feeling a little more comfortable with what their options were in combat. And really, again, because of the new options and new interactions, it makes certain options more viable. Certain actions that did exist before, now you don't feel like it's necessarily suboptimal to try and drink a potion in the middle of combat, or to spend a lot of time moving, especially at lower levels.
Yeah, we kind of decided to try it for just a little while to see, and then maybe we would switch back. And I think we all ended up preferring it. Mm-hmm. So that's what we stuck to. This is my first game. I'm a year in. He's been playing DMing for 13 years.
Yeah, about 13.
So you got the old pro here and the newbie, and he was trying to explain everything. So it was new for him too to try.
Yeah.
And then we have a player who's been playing for a few years as well, and the rest of us were new. Mm-hmm. And it made it so much easier because there's so much to learn when you're your very first game.
Yes.
There's a lot on that sheet that seems like second nature now, even to me, but like the first games I was just it was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And that did make it a lot simpler, because then I could focus on my spells and things like that and memorizing them, so I didn't come up like, I don't know what this spell does.
Right.
I could focus on that stuff rather than figuring out what actions were swift actions and which 2 I could do or 3 I could do. So I know I can do 2 actions for a spell. We should mention hexes.
Yes. Well, hexes are...
they feel like a spell.
Well, hexes, technically speaking, what we're doing in yours, we are treating them homebrewed. We are treating them as single actions. Mm. They are spell-like abilities. They would traditionally be 2 actions.
Ooh.
Yes.
Don't do that to them.
Yes. And
don't do it.
And that's sort of one of the reasons why, like I said, we want to get into the homebrew action economy. And
that's another game, though, and that's a very small party with not much power.
Well, I think overall still, I think that even if it was a larger party, especially the way that I run a game, my default is to give the players as many options as possible. And the reality is, if you came down to a choice between doing a hex or casting a spell, how often would you be using at low levels, how often would you be using your spells? And now you're getting to the point where how often would you be using your hexes? Yeah. So I think that by sort of limiting them to, because you still can't use them multiple times on the same people.
Right.
So I can sort of limit how useful those are by just how many mooks are on the table. Because if there's not very many people on the table, your hexes become, that's how I can control you over using them. But I think on the whole, I think that getting to use your class-specific abilities more often, those spell-like abilities that a lot of classes get, I think that really makes your class feel better. I think that it makes the game run smoother, because you don't have this paralyzation of choice, like should I hex or should I cast mage armor on myself? And I think my philosophy is the more options for the players, the better, and not all DMs are going to agree with that and want to deal with that. But on the whole, if you have a good table and you have good players and everybody's just there to have fun and everybody trusts each other, I think that the few instances of is that too strong are really outweighed by all the instances of this is too fun. So
yeah, I like it. I don't know if I could go back to the normal one.
I don't think I could either at this point. I
really like it.
I think that there's hiccups. There are hiccups, but
especially if you're a magus.
But I think that overall it's a superior system, both for simplicity and for improved options and broader depth of a given round of combat what can be done, especially at low levels, the new ways that you can attack and the new ways that you can move without limiting yourself. And then, I mean, a 5-foot step no longer negating any further movement in a round is a big deal. It allows you to disengage from an enemy and get to a friend to hopefully help them all in the same turn. And then, which is something you just couldn't really do before. You could get to them, but you couldn't help them. But now you can. And before you might have provoked an attack of opportunity on the way. But
I mean, the monsters have these same...
Exactly.
So it balances out.
Exactly.
It does seem...
Exactly. You've seen a couple of bad guys recently get to run, frustratingly enough, because of the way this...
I've been eaten plenty by this action economy.
Yes. So and it's, as with anything, as a DM, if you're going to give your players more options, you got to give those monsters more options too. Otherwise, they will start to feel like they're sprinting ahead. But if everybody's got all the extra options, it really can become pretty dangerous pretty quickly, even with all the new options that you have.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it changes that much.
Well, I think that's pretty much it for this just sort of little buffer. We do plan to do a lot more videos, not just on the revised action economy itself, but also some of the more specific things that come from the revised action economy, and just other optional rules and homebrew in general. That's, as I said, that's really what I'm into.
His specialty is homebrew. So if you have questions, especially about homebrewing and balancing and stuff like that, and if you want to just put that in the comments, we'll make a video about it. I mean, we're open to that. He's pretty pro at that by now.
Yeah, I've had
made his own games.
That's true. I've had the hood off Pathfinder quite a few times, getting down into the nuts and bolts and really kind of trying to customize the way that it plays, not just for me, but for my players. Again, at the end of the day, that's what you're focused on, is finding the way to make the most fun for the people at the table, and finding the way to make them feel as unlimited, as unleashed, as unchained as possible. So that's why the Unchained Action Economy, I think, is a great addition to your table, especially if you've been playing a long time. It can make like I said, it can make Pathfinder First Edition feel very fresh. And you can even see, I believe, I haven't checked the latest versions of the Second Edition playtest, just because it's about to come out, and I figure I might as well at this point just wait and see what the final printed version is. But I believe early on, at least, they were using at least a modified version of the Unchained Action Economy. So, which is a great way for them to set themselves apart from 5th edition D&D.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that about covers it.
I think that does. We are the Collective Arcana, and now you are too.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.